Hello, welcome back to Touchstarved. The demo. I think last time we met uh, Ace and Min, and today we're gonna. I think the story's winding down to the end, but I'm not exactly sure. It might be going on for longer. Also, I realized I was pronouncing Kuresh and Ace wrong. Ace right here. Everybody else I was pronouncing pretty well. Alright, let's get back into it. Flash of white over Ace's shoulder catches my eye. Across the bar, Kurash heads for the door. I don't see Leander or Min, but it feels wrong to let him leave without saying goodbye. I'll be back. Ver hums and wags his fingers to me as I leave. I slip through the crowd, careful not to touch anyone, but just as I'm nearing Kurash, I stagger, shoulder checked by a man with a neck thicker than both my thighs. He stares at me, nostrils flaring. Out of my way, shit stain! Asshole! I muttered while I was massaging my throbbing elbow. The roughneck wheels around, shoving a bloodhound on his way so he can close in on me. What did you say? What did you say? He shoves me backwards, sending me stumbling to the sticky floor. Oh fuck, we're about to have a bar fight. I'm fine, but my heart leaps into my throat when I see the roughneck bearing down on me. You trying to start something here? The roughneck freezes, his fist cocked back. A group of bloodhounds called by the commotion circle him, sizing him up. For it feels like an agonizingly long moment, Roughneck looks from me to the bloodhounds. Finally he sniffs, spits on the floor next to me. The lob narrowly misses my cheek. Screw it! Screw it! Too many freaks in this circus tonight. Turns his back on me. In comes face to face with Ace. A dangerous smile spreads across his face. You'll do. What happens next is a blur. Ace's fist crashes into the roughneck's jaw, causing an eruption of gasps and shouts, and even cheers around us. Fuck yeah! I scramble to my feet as a frantic crowd swarms around me, cutting off my sight of everything and everyone. Through the ruckus, I hear Leander shouting, Hey, Ace, take it outside. Ignore them, everyone, look, drinks on me, are on me. Those 4 words, the wake erupts into hoots and hollers. The ring around me disperses, and the bloodhounds and the onlookers rush towards the bar. Through the thinning crowd, I catch a glimpse of familiar faces. Ace vanishes out the back, dragging the roughneck behind him. Kurash lingers near the door, searching, I suspect, for any wounded before he departs. Min draws her hood up tight as they slip out the side door, while Ver leans over the counter to swipe a glass of wine from behind the bar. And Leander, sitting at the opposite end of the bar, gestures dramatically and apologetically at the bartender. In the space of a heartbeat, I realize there's no telling when or if I'll see any of them ever again. Whoever I pursue may be the last person I get to speak to tonight. I follow. This is a tough one. Just follow Ace. Oh, I probably should have stayed there. God damn it. Morbid curiosity draws me after Ace. I sink out the back of the wet wick. The alley's dead silent. Not really what I expected from a fight. A dull crunch reaches my ears, then a thud. Peer around the corner of the building, careful to keep hidden. Dark, glistening red splatters the ground, spidering through a seam of cobblestone. Guides my eye to a collapsed body across from me. Uh-oh. Once so violent, Roughneck is now little more than a sack of crumpled flesh and blotted with mud. Why did I add an "and" there? Damn it. Ace exhales, his breath misting against the cold air. Blood flecks his knuckles as he looms over the motionless body, his feet on either side of it. Fear spreads like ice through my bones. Moments ago, he was joking and friendly with the others, but now Ace's crimson eyes find me in the dark. Not running, Sparrow. I rarely rise to my feet, moonlight illuminating my face. I thought I was out of sight. Got eyes in the back of my head. Ace steps off the Roughneck. My eyes stay locked on the body, swept with layers of blood and grime, completely still. Oh, there's that awesome music again. He's alive. Are you sure? Call me a killer or a liar? Oh. Fuck. What's the worst of the two? I think the liar's the least... Yeah. Liar. Which I guess is both. In that case, he's dead. I squint, and he smirks back. Don't believe me? To be honest, it's hard to believe anything coming out of your mouth. I'm a liar, after all. His bloody knuckles catch his attention. He tries to rub them clean, but ends up smearing the blood around more. I keep making a bad impression on you. I didn't know you cared about my opinion. Get out of here. The hell? Where'd it go? Don't worry about it. Just prefer you didn't piss yourself when we talk. Annoyance bubbles in my chest. Well, I'm not pissing myself, even with your bad impressions. Like the first time we met, Ace chips away at my fear, placing it with irritation instead. I don't know, that's probably a good thing. You're more irritated than scared of him. Ace kneels beside the Roughneck and frisks him. Can't help but wonder if the crime was worth the punishment, but I hold my tongue. Deftly, Ace's hands search through the Roughneck's pockets. Doesn't take him long to find his prize, a cigarette and matchbox. He strikes a match. Sparks light up his angular features, a golden glow. It's distracting for a moment, but my gaze inevitably drops back to the muddy body. You're just gonna leave him there? Ace draws deep from the cigarette. He exhales heavily, smoke curling past his lips. Breathes in the sweet spiced scent of cloves. As his tension melts away, he looks at me with cool-lidded eyes. Should I give him a blanket? Unbothered by the maybe corpse, he takes a seat on the crate opposite of the bar. I stand awkwardly, forgetting why I came out here in the first place. An unpleasant silence stretches between us. Weather's nice. Cold, murky, and humid. Humids. I want to believe he's teasing me, but for all I know, this is pleasant for a radio. Oh my god, are you kidding me? I've been having like crazy people spamming my phone since day before yesterday, and they're at it again. It's like 5 in the morning for me. I don't know what time it is for them, but holy shit. Was Princess good company? Who? Takes another drag. His metal rings catch the light of the cigarette and a flash of red. The soulless who escorted you back. Oh, her name's Princess? Oh, that's cute! You named it Princess? Jealous? I returned to smile. You have no idea. I think your nickname's more fitting. Sparrow. Not sure where Ace got it from. Maybe I should tell him to call me by my name, but it's kind of nice. Not that I ever tell him that. Before I could dissect my feelings, I quickly changed the subject back to the solace. Yeah, she was cute. She was kind of cute in a weird way. I glanced absent-mindedly at my hand, remembering how she nuzzled into my palm at my touch. Ace's eyes softened for a brief moment. Her tail wouldn't stop going when she got back. The group of them don't get much attention. Think she's cute now. Wait till you see her tricks. I should probably try like doing different voices. I'm not very good at that though. You taught her tricks? Princess is a smart one. She'll learn everything if you have the right rewards. Sounds about right. The idea of a tamed soulless is still so outlandish to me. I was mauled by a mindless, bloodthirsty beast, and he's talking about them like they're pets. But it's possible all because of the sea spring. I need to get answers he wouldn't give me before. Carefully take a seat beside him on the crate, contemplating my strategy. He doesn't seem to mind. He closes his eyes and tilts back his head against the wall. Relax. Without the pressure of his intense gaze, I feel myself ease up too. As long as I keep my attention away from the bloody heap across from us. I like how we're just casually talking while there's like an unconscious dude across from us. I glance over at Ace and allow my eyes to linger. The sea glass colored tattoo spirals up his arm, painting over the grooves of muscle. Silver jewelry glints in the moonlight, draws my eyes to his bare chest. Rough hands, carved jaw. Ooh! Spacebar doesn't bring back the... Spacebar doesn't bring... It hides it, but it doesn't bring it back. I gotta click to bring it back. I'm not complaining, it's just a little odd. His ears, his horns, his pupils. Everything about him is sharp. Even the fangs that only show when he grins. Not many scars though. Strange. Save for the one cut through his brow. Ace is unmarked for how seasoned he acts. What's your verdict? Flip my head in the opposite direction. What verdict? Got a long, good look. Are you impressed, or do I need work? My face grows hot. I guess I've seen worse. He responds with a low chuckle, draped in smoke. Keep staring then. My embarrassment spikes. Without thinking, I blurt out a change in topic. I have questions about the sea spring. Boredom eclipses his amusement in an instant, and he closes his eyes again. Of course you do. I thought I made myself clear what you'd be giving up. Before you kicked me out to go drinking. Still need to know more. My turn for a question. Sounded more like an order than anything. A bristle under his narrow gaze. Fine. Takes a long pull from his cigarette and lets the smoke trail slowly from his lips. Your curse. What about it? This song and dance is all too familiar. Selfish questions come first. What does it do? Is it painful? Can you control it? Brace myself for the inevitable onslaught. Is the thought of living with it really so unbearable? My dread dies with his words. No one has asked me that before. You've survived this long. Unless you're running out of time, I'd wonder if it's really worth the sacrifice. He flicks the cigarette aside and props his head on a blood-smeared knuckles. But what do I know? I'm just an outsider. My fingers fuss with the trim of my cloak. Ordinarily I feel annoyed, but now my chest feels tight. You could have sold me if you were less honest. You're a shit salesman. I thought I was a liar. I like how their expressions change like constantly. Like during dialogue. It's really neat. I changed my mind. We lapse into silence again. This time it's surprisingly nice. Quiet, chilled air is a calming reprieve. You know, you didn't seem like an outsider back at the bar. A lot of people like you. Hayes raises a brow at me. Start by asking about... He seems close to Vera. Let's ask him about Vera. I was surprised to see you and Vera close. Blessing and a curse. From what I've gathered, most people think he's... I don't know, an asshole? And water's wet. I wait for him to elaborate or add his thoughts, but he doesn't. So, what do you like about him? He lets out a quiet laugh, as if amused by my question. A lot of things. You already named one. You like that he's an asshole? Temperament matches the drapes. Looks good in blood and better in tears. What does that mean? Oh! Oh my, oh, okay, okay. Took me a second. Favorite thing's the tail. Sometimes it frizzes up if you... He catches himself and clears his throat. It's hard not to let the disappointment show in my expression. Okay. I actually was not expecting that, but... Oh, hi, Coco! Ver is one of the most honest people you'll meet. Just don't listen to a single thing he says. Those sound like complete opposites to me. Let's ask him about Leander. You and Leander clearly get along well. You like Leander? Doesn't everyone? He's helped me a lot since I arrived in Lydia. He even got me a free room at the Wet Wick. His charm has gotten him far, but for a leader, he sure likes it when others take control. Part of me desperately wants to ask what he means, but he's continued before I get the chance. Surprised we get along? Thought you'd be at each other's throats instead of drinking buddies. His smile is easy, but there's a dangerous edge to it. Leander's done a good job for a human. Naturally, there will come a time when his resolve is tested. Same could be said for anyone, in this plane or the next. As for my resolve, well, stick around in Iridia long enough and you'll find out. I nod slowly. I can't decide if it sounds like a promise or a threat. Got any more observations, Sparrow? Am I annoying him with these questions? What's your thoughts on Kurash? I didn't know that you and Kurash were friends. In a way. I help him in the clinic sometimes. Doctor doesn't let most people closer than an arm's length. And you do? Heart's on my sleeve. Get the sense Kurash was like that in the past. Must have been burned. He trails off after the last few words, then shrugs. He opens up in his own ways, if he's relaxed enough. I don't know how to even imagine that. You'd be surprised. Even the doctor has an endearing side. Can't decide what's more intriguing, the fact that Kurash has an endearing side, or the idea that Ace has managed to coax it out of him. Tell me if you uncover any other secrets. I'd kill to know more. Okay, what are your thoughts on Min? Maybe Min doesn't necessarily like you, but they definitely pay attention to you. Ace's reaction takes me off guard. He growls and pinches the bridge of his nose, as exasperated as I've ever seen him. I make enemies as easily as I breathe, Sparrow. Doesn't bother me. But that dove's got it out for me for no reason. Maybe they're unsettled by the sea spring? It's not about that. Goes without saying that they've got some issues. I don't think they understand that you catch more flies with honey than vinegar. Honey has left a bad taste in my mouth in the past. Could do the same for them. At least you're capable of conversation. Do me a favor, teach the dove some manners. They'd lay off eventually if I don't bite. Hasn't happened yet. I briefly considered the possibility that Min wants to get bitten. Not about to propose that, though. My main point is that, speaking from experience, being an outsider usually means you don't have friends. I don't. I level him with a tired look. Fine, I'll confess. I have one friend. Don't say yourself. How do you pronounce this? Archideus? Okay. Why is the name in red? My skin prickles at the name. Hair standing on end. Who's that? A friend. It lives in my head. Rent free? It lives in your head. Ace taps his temple with a finger. Right here. Scared you off yet? That'd be the third bad impression I'd made on you today. I'm stunned for a long moment, processing what he just told me. Then I burst into a fit of laughter. You're serious? Ace grins wide enough to flash his fangs. Deadly. It sounds so fucking absurd, I can't help it. On top of everything I've gone through today, it feels like I'm living a fever dream. I've come close to death more times than I can count. Counted a tame Solus and a horrifying group mine. And now I'm supposed to believe that there's someone living inside of Ace's head? Well, that could be the What if it's the thing in the sea spring? Hey! What are you doing up? Hi, baby! There are tears in my eyes by the time I rein myself in. Ace waits patiently, lips quirk in amusement. Sorry, it just sounds so ridiculous. The tension that wound my shoulders so tightly has melted away. For the first time in a long time, I feel like I could breathe. I feel better. Dukas! Where the rat's ass are you? Raucous, gruff shouts rise in the streets, echoed by the sound of heavy boots sloshing mud through mud. Oh, fuck, we're about to get into a fight. The voices share the roughneck's accent from the bar. Same roughneck who is still, maybe dead, lying bloodied across from us. I nearly forgot about him. Shoved to my feet as the voices get louder. They're closing in quick. Ace pulls me by the wrist out of the alley, away from the beaming moonlight. We dive into a nook between buildings, veiled in the shade of tattered canopies. It's a tight fit. Ace boxes me in against the wall, his body all but pressed against mine as he towers over me. For the second time today, the heady scent of smoke envelops me, but this time cut with a metallic tinge of someone else's blood. Ace pitches his voice low. Quiet. My heart leaps in my throat. Why did I say eyes? What the fuck? I'm suddenly acutely aware of the heat radiating off of Ace's body. The feeling of his legs grazing my thigh. The closeness of his breath. This is bad. Wait, what was that? What? Oh, that's how you do that. Okay. Where's the log? Hang on. There was something there. What the hell? It looked like it was about to say something else, but it's saying that... You hold your fucking thought there. Come here. Come here. Just like me to break the tension and getting my dog. Here's a good girl. Do we have to? His hand covers my mouth, muffling my whispers. He shakes his head. Don't. Damn, he's over here! Lucas, wake up, you bastard! A group of individuals, all brandishing spiked weapons, fill the alley. Once I get glimpses of their violent slashes, I instantly know that they're not just roughnecks. They're gangsters. Only gangs with a lot of influence would fly colors so openly. I wish I could see what they're doing. The ace's arm blocks my sight. My eyes trail up the teal markings. They coil around his arm, his bicep. They lead up to Ace's collarbone, to the cords hanging around his neck. What are you doing? Hey, you sit your ass down. You sit your ass down, you cute little motherfucker. Boop. And to the smuggest smirk I've ever seen. Oh fuck, he's catching me staring. Well, I don't want to bite him. That's the first time we got those red tags. Let me just... Yeah, I don't want to bite him, so I'll just stare at his chest. Fortunately, I don't have a lot of options. My eyes dart away from his face, following the line of necklace down his chest. The weighted pendant hangs above the line of his abdomen, just before the skin gets swallowed by darkness. A thrill jolts through me, my face hot beneath his touch. This can't be happening. Why am I getting worked up in this situation? Damn, we really are touch-starved. Holy shit. What a lonely life the main character has lived. Voices in the alley grabs Ace's attention this time. Shit! He's got more broken ribs than whole ones. What kind of freak did this? Fan out! Find the cocksucker responsible, you three. Oh fuck. Fan out. Find the cocksucker responsible. You three, take Lucas back to base. At least he's still breathing. The alley clears out as footsteps rush away from us. We stay still until they're distant, melting into a rumble of the quarter. Only then does Ace take his hand off my mouth. When we finally step back into the moonlight, the night air is ice on my skin. I feel dazed, and need to keep my eyes off Ace at all costs. Is that really necessary? The tremble in my voice is nothing but embarrassing. Staying here was the best option. Would be a hassle to run into them with you there. What, because I'm a deadweight? Because 3 bad impressions are enough for one day. The answer is too vague for my liking, but he's probably right. Either way, I don't have the energy to argue. Come on, Sparrow. Let's get you home before you're framed for murder. Very funny. We reached the front of the wet wick too quickly. I hate to admit it, but I don't want to separate from Mace just yet. Not just because he never answered my questions. He's infuriating. As easily as he makes me feel on edge, he can make me feel safe, secure somehow. You know where to find me. At the creepiest place in the world. Take your time before you decide to drink. I happen to like your shitty attitude. Takes me a moment to process it. Then eyes flutter down to my feet. I'll keep that in mind. When I glance back up from the ground, Ace is already down the street, disappearing through into a throng of people. No fanfare, not even a wave. Asshole. Oh! Oh, look at my going. I'll save right here. Pick him. An intimidating yet laid-back outsider, Ace presides over a sea spring with unnerving powers. He offers you a miracle, but the price means submitting yourself to the horrifying presence at the heart of the sea spring. Will you gaze into the abyss for answers, even at the risk of losing yourself? Oh, we went through all that. But yeah. Oh! God damn it. Okay. Follow them on Twitter and Instagram, everybody. Look at this. Look at this CG here. This one's great with all 5 of them together like this. That's great. Alright. I want to see what biting does. Hang on. Chomp! I move before I can think. Opening my mouth enough to bare teeth, and bite down on Ace's palm. Ace's palm. Hard. He winces, surprise flashing across his features. His hand leaves my mouth and I gasp for air. My breath's rapid from adrenaline, but it's only when I lick my lips. When I taste metallic taste of blood. That I realize I broke skin. Oh, we pissed him off. Panic builds in my chest. My body tenses, bracing for his reaction. Every movement he makes is slow and deliberate. Bends down, leans close to my ear, and a husky whisper only I can hear. At least someone could draw blood today. Oh, okay, he's not pissed. Hot thrill jolts through me. For a heartbeat, I forget to breathe. Okay, so... Okay, here we go. Here's where it's different. Could ask you the same. Didn't know sparrows could bite. Hang on. Okay. You're lucky I didn't do worse. Try me. Oh! Oh man, that grin. Thought of wiping that shitty grin off his face is definitely tempting. Staying hidden was the best option. Would be a hassle to run into them with you there. What, because I'm a deadweight? Because 3 bad impressions are enough for one day. The answer is too vague for my liking, but he's probably right. Either way, I don't have the energy to argue. Come on, Sparrow. Let's get you home before you're framed for murder. Very funny. Okay, so I can probably just skip the rest of this. Oh. Why did it stop? Okay, I should probably read the rest of these. Verus serves as a warning of the dangers posed by the snow biome. As cunning as he is curious, Ver finds you fascinating, and insists that he can help. But trusting him means entrusting your life to a collared beast with a lethal reputation. Can Ver protect you, or is honeyed words a trap waiting to snap shut? Ooh! Actually sounds pretty good. Leander offers you something that should be impossible. Taste of normalcy, free of your curse. As the first person to withstand your touch, he could change your life, but some things are simply too good to be true. Leander promises to help unravel your curse, but at what cost? Kurash. From all appearances, Kurash is a principal doctor of extraordinary skill. We know little about the man beneath the professional mask, and Kurash keeps even his friends at a cold distance. If you uncover his deepest secrets, what will you find? Despite their cold nature and familiarity with violence, Min is just as desperate as you are to get into the snow biome. You may be able to help each other, but they're keeping as many secrets as you. They claim they're dangerous, but could be your only chance at getting into the snow biome. But they could. Oh, never. But okay, let's see here. Let's go back and see like the other options with the guys. How? Yeah, I got time. Okay, I'm not used to like holding down control to skip everything. And that's why everything was stopping so much. Oh, my mug's empty. Alright. Go speak with Kurash. See what he has to say. Hot on Kurash's heels, I squeezed my way out of the bar. Of everyone I've met, he seems most likely to help me. Or the least likely to murder me on a whim. Earlier this morning, he said I could go into the clinic for help whenever I needed it. Time to see if that promise was actually worth anything. I breathe a sigh of relief once I'm free of the crowded bar. Kurash, hearing me, turns my way. Kuro, you seem upset. I take it the Amaryllis district is not to your liking? I paused to think about that. It's not so different from the streets where I grew up, though the clientele is much more colorful. That's not why I stepped out. You were not in need of treatment after that fall, are you? I scowl up at him, and he holds his hands in a mollifying gesture. I apologize, Kuro. Please continue. About time! Someone cuts right across me towards Kurash, stopping us both in the middle of the street. Even in the dim pink haze that seems to blanket everything, there's no mistaking the pressed white uniform and stiffly starched hat. Another snow biome cleric. I hastily step back, making myself as inconspicuous as possible. Can I help you? Nervous onlookers hastily part around Kurash and the cleric. The two form an island of white in a sea of teeming color. Damn, that was a sentence. That was a rough sentence for me. Enough. You know why I'm here. Then I hope you find this edifying. Kurash reaches into his coat and produces 3 tiny glass vials bound together with a thick leather cord. A silvery powder shimmers inside. He gently flicks the glass, watching the contents swirl and extend the vials to the cleric. This is it? They look extremely unimpressed. Appearances can be deceiving. He throws me a glance and a swift smile. I'm too surprised to respond. Kurash was the first to warn me about the Cenobium. Nobody I met had anything good to say about them. And yet here he is, openly dealing with them in the Amaryllis district. I glanced between Kurash and the cleric, who seemed to notice me for the very first time. Good night. I bowed to Kurash, and offered me an extremely perfunctory nod, and disappeared into the seething crowd. Kuro, is something amiss? What was that all about? Yeah, what was that all about? Lower your voice. It is of little consequence. That's all you have to say? To the earful you gave me about the Cenobium, you... Shh. Be calm. He holds one finger to his lips, suddenly curl onto it in a cat-like smile. For now, please join me for a For now, please join me on a short stroll. Kurash's golden eyes twinkle in the low light. He beckons me away from the main thoroughfare, down the side street filled with vendors hawking late-night snacks. What? Wait! Now powerfully curious, in spite of myself, I hurry after Kurash. Oh my gosh, this music! This music's fun. Each of his long, graceful strides is easily two of mine. Catch a glimpse of his gleaming white coat, disappearing around the corner of the street. The moment I catch up, delicious scents of freshly baked goods flood my stomach. My stomach gives a loud rumble. One honey pistachio cookie, please. Coming right up! Without breaking his swift pace, Kurash plucks the sticky confection out of the merchant's hand and offers it to me. The heavenly smell makes my stomach rumble once more. Take a bite without hesitation. Kurash watches me with an indulgent smile, and I notice he hasn't gotten anything for himself. You're not hungry? You need not concern yourself with me. He stops mid-sentence, eyes darting back the way we came. The hairs stick up on the back of my neck. I turn just enough to peek over my shoulder, hoping I don't look suspicious. Sure enough, the same cleric who waylaid us in the street, now wearing a thunderously angry expression. Oh, fuck. Uh-oh. Well, disappointment can be a learning experience. Glimmers of realization dawn over me as I stare up at him. What exactly was in those vials? Perhaps a rare, potent alchemical catalyst. Let me start that over. Perhaps a rare and potent alchemical catalyst. Or some stale fish skin. The two do resemble one another, and it can be hard to tell them apart. Is he serious? I chanced another glance at the cleric, who is now trying to elbow their way between the food stalls. A few people make way, but most don't even notice their efforts. The street is far too crowded with hungry patrons. Shall we? Without even waiting for a response from me, he glides swiftly into the crowd once more. Is there a point to all this? Oh, you're messing with them. You're messing with a Cenobium cleric? Such impolite behavior. I'm astounded you would even suggest it. Kurash! I must still look incredulous because his smile softens a little. He lifts his hand as if to pat my shoulder, but then stops himself. As I said, you have nothing to fear. He ducks into what looks like an abandoned doorway, but opens to a small covered market. The stalls here are full of more spices than I knew existed. Even taking a short breath makes me sneeze. Kurash slows his pace, occasionally pausing to examine it. An insistent hawker's wares. Wait. He looks up at me from a display of livid red leaves, each as long as my forearm. You said I have nothing to fear, but everyone in radio... Excuse me. You said I have nothing to fear, but... Oh, come on. You said I have nothing to fear, but everyone in Iridia seems wary of the snow biome. People fear the obvious trappings of power, wealth, force, or his ostentatious tower. For my part, I find such trappings merely disappointing. The snow biome once had great potential. They squandered it decades ago in the pursuit of trinkets, pleasure, and petty tyranny. Their narrow, prosaic interest has rendered them blind to all else that moves. I think that's the most I've ever heard Kurash say on any topic. Damn! You just roasted the shit out of them too, holy shit. You sound like you know them well. Kurash lets out a long, low sigh. You miss little Kuro. Familiarity breeds contempt, and I'm more familiar with the snow biome's crude messes than I would like. Now I'm getting somewhere. Something beyond vague warnings or swift deflections. I decided to press the point while I have the chance. Familiar how? Kurash stops right in front of a display of pickled fruits, and I nearly run into his back. Steps aside at the last moment. His arm rests gently but firmly on my waist. Tense, but he's careful to avoid my bandaged hands. Our pursuer refuses to take no for an answer. Oh, he's having fun. He's having fun with this. Them again? I thought we lost him in the crowd. I craned my neck to look for the cleric, but Kurash shakes his head. This way. The next street over seems to be home to the high-end brothels. It's full of steep stairways and shadowy passages, perfect for a discreet tryst or losing a persistent tale. Pink curtains and painted facades sprawl around me like a giant, colorful warren. It only takes a few more twists and turns down blind alleyways and narrow walkways before I'm completely turned around. Well, at least one of us knows where we're going. Kurash, however, seems to be following some map in his own mind. He takes each turn with swift confidence, guiding me with the occasional nudge. The gaps between the teetering buildings can hardly be called alleys. So narrow we have to pass through with a single file. Just a little further. The effortless grace with which he moves is almost infuriating. It takes every ounce of concentration I had just to avoid tripping over loose tiles, discarded clothes, and unidentifiable rubbish. Meanwhile, his long legs almost seem to float over every obstacle. His clothes are still completely pristine despite the soot-stained walls on either side. How the hell did he do that? Oh my god! The game's reading my mind. How the hell does he do it? I'm still trying to puzzle it out when I realize how warm it is. With me practically tripping on his heels. The tiny gap between us seems to radiate heat, like beating a midday sun on the longest day of summer. Fuck no, I'm staying close. I definitely don't want to get lost here. I stay as close to Kurash as I can without actually touching him. I promise I will not lose you. Was I that obvious? Our eyes meet, and despite my best efforts, I find it hard to hold his gaze. Damn, his eyes are so pretty. I've never seen eyes like his. Despite our dark, indigenous surroundings, it's like Kurash's radiates his. Oh, it's like Kurash radiates his own light whenever he looks at me. Thank you for indulging me, Kuro. I believe we've lost our tail. It's much quieter on the edges of the Amaryllis district, and the deals in the shadows look shadier. Did you enjoy our impromptu tour? Relief escapes me in a tired laugh. After the day I've had, playing keep away from a Cenobium cleric seems almost normal. I wasn't in mortal peril, so it was a nice change of pace. He laughs too, a soft and pleasant chuckle, completely at odds with his usual cool demeanor. Are you sure we've lost that cleric? If there's one thing you count on, it's the elitism of the Cenobium's finest. They would not deign to follow us this far. He sounds confident enough. I'm starting to wonder if we'd have to make a full circuit of the city to ditch them. A beam of moonlight cuts through the clouds, casting his face into sharp relief. However, I should escort you back to your lodgings. It would be unwise to let you go alone. What about you? Are you staying at the Wet Wick? Of course not. Then you're going back to your clinic alone? You just said that was a bad idea. He pauses, stares at me. His expression relaxes into a gentle smile. Fear not, Kuro. Only the most desperate or foolish would dare lay a hand on me. It sounds insane after 2 near-death soulless encounters, but part of me believes him. The few people who are still out huddle beneath street lamps and doorways, desperate to be as close to safety as possible. Kurash, on the other hand, looks more relaxed than I've ever seen him. He's strolling down the middle of the street, bold as if it were broad daylight. Even walking alongside him makes me feel more secure, warmer both inside and out. Hang on to that faint spark of hope, and screw up my courage. Did you mean it this morning, when you said I could come back to you for help? Every word. All his earlier mirth vanishes, replaced by calm focus. I don't know what to say to that. I must have expected his offer to be a courtesy, an easy way to get me out the door. The fact that he meant it. Why do you ask? I believe I have already made my intention to help you quite clear. His eyes flick briefly to my arm, the one he miraculously reattached when he found me. I can almost imagine him counting the neat stitches. I just wanted to make certain. I'm still figuring out who's trustworthy and who's trouble. I see. Iridia does tend to attract extreme individuals. Well, whoa, what was going on with that? I was seeing double vision for a second there. Including you? Kuro, I decline to incriminate myself in your eyes. I can recognize a smooth deflection when I hear one. Though if he won't talk more about himself, maybe he'll talk more about someone else. Decided to ask about... Right, let me say right here. I'll save over this because yeah. No, it's been like an hour, and those crazy look, they're still at it. They're spamming my phone. They want to talk to me, but I don't want to talk to them. They're fucking weird. All right. Let's talk about Leander first. Why'd you send me to Leander for help? If you know already better than Leander. The company he keeps can be questionable, but I had confidence in him. Yeah, his bloodhounds seem rough around the edges. Leander has always preferred the company of those like him. Survivors of low talent's harsh realities. You must have noticed how they flock to him. I nod. Seems to know every single person in the Wet Wick. And that's a good thing? Leander's closest peers trust him with their lives. I would say that counts for something. How about Min? You and Min sound like you knew each other well. Kirash heaves a long-suffering sigh. I know them better than most, and less well than I would like. Like you, Min is a recent arrival. The time here has been particularly difficult. As much as I would like to help. He trails off, but I know exactly what he's talking about. Min doesn't seem to like the sort of person who would accept help easily. Do they always pick fights that are twice their size? I have implored to them not to. They rarely listen. Okay, how about Ace? Have you ever been out to see Ace at the Sea Spring? Once. Only once? Seems like a spring with miraculous power would interest a doctor. A long silence follows. So long that I'm not sure Karash heard me. I'm about to repeat myself when he finally speaks in a near whisper. Ace is the rare newcomer who has proven himself immediately worthy of respect. The Sea Spring is another matter. Hidden depths often contain unwelcome secrets. You could say that about anything around here. A fair point. Nonetheless, I have seen many purported wonders, and the Sea Spring is unlike any other. Only time will tell what that means. Yeah, he looks so worried talking about it. Okay. So what are your thoughts on Vare? How do you know Vare? Karash visibly stiffens, and I remember the venom in Vare's voice when he grabbed me. Uh-oh. That fucking doctor. Looks like the feeling is very much mutual. Regrettably, Vare is one of my worst patients. How did you cross his path? He stole my room key. You were fortunate he did not steal. Let me repeat that. You are fortunate that he did nothing else. He is far deadlier than he seems. The reason he is not at liberty. A reason for the collar and chain. There is a reason he is not at liberty. A reason for the collar and chain. He seems pretty dodgy to me already. I hesitate. What was that? I saw something in the corner there. I hesitated, waiting for Karash to elaborate, but he seems to find even the thought of Vare distasteful. Was my curiosity sated for now? I fall silent. I wish Karash had given me just a little more to go on, but he seems almost as tightly-lipped about others as he is about himself. I'm stumbling over my words like a bitch. By the time we're back at the Wet Wick, the Amaryllis district seems even noisier and more raucous than before. Drunken patrons overflow into the streets, which reek of spilt wine. How am I supposed to sleep with all this racket? I suggest the stiffest drink at the bar. Alternatively, a ball of wax. Oh, what? Till I put in my ears? Okay. Very funny. Even with how tired I am, I'm not sure I'll get a wink of sleep. I'm about to say goodnight to Kurash when someone staggers out of the wet wick right into me. I stumble back. He was teetering on the edge of the filthy gutter. Kuro? The next thing I know, a pair of warm arms catches me around the waist. I find myself staring up at Kurash, pressed against his chest. His grasp loosens, but he doesn't quite let go. Something shifts in his gaze. His eyes fix on my face, and I feel myself growing hot over his all over at his intense scrutiny. What does he see in me? What's he looking for? Kurash? My apologies. Even after he moves away, the warmth of his touch lingers through my clothes. I quickly tug my cloak straight, trying to recollect my scattered thoughts. Good night. Good night. Thanks for everything today. You are most welcome. He turns and slips into the crowd, though I can pick out his pristine white cloak with ease. Chilly guest house down the street. Why did it get so cold out? Okay, I didn't see any red text for Kurash, but we'll check out like the other dudes. And I forgot to save at the options again. Okay, let's save this time. Let's go with Leander. For the second time today, I find myself squeezing into a crowd to reach Leander. As soon as he sees me, his easy smile fades. Are you alright, Kuro? I'm not sure. I'm not used to someone looking at me with such earnest concern. I've been through worse today. From the sound of it, you've had quite the day. How are you holding up? I'm fine. I'm still alive. That counts for something, right? Rudy is not an easy place to live in, but you get used to it eventually. Let's hope so. Leander signals for the bartender. I'm parched. Do you want anything? Sure, I'll have a drink. Something strong and simple. He raises 2 fingers at the bartender. Make that 2. Once he's ordered, Leander turns back to me. Did you at least get to try any good food? I've had these fried dode steaks from a vendor near here. As I began describing my meal, his eyes brightened with recognition. The long lads from the Windstall? You've got to try them with Forge. There's another stall about a block away from okay. There's another stall about a block away from with these rosewater rice flour cakes. Take one bite and you'll think you've been transported to some high-town patisserie. How do you pronounce that? Then BAM! You open your eyes and god damn it. Then BAM! You open your eyes and it's the same trash lined the street as always. When he laughs, his hair falls over his eyes. He shakes his head and pushes it back. I'll show you sometime, if you decide to stick around Old Town, that is. The area Leander describes is far different from the ones I've experienced. But if you live anywhere long enough, I suppose it becomes home. Seems like I'll be here for a while. Maybe I'll take you up on that. Bartender returns with a pair of glasses and pushes them our way. Cheers! Leander clinks his glass against mine. Take a deep sip of the malty dark ale, savoring its flavor. It was surprising finding out that y'all know each other. I didn't think your radio would be so small. You know how many times I've tried getting them all in one place? It's impossible, like trying to hurt a bunch of soulless. I take it you know them well? Depends. Was there anyone you're curious about in particular? Let's ask him about Karash first. Do you and Karash work together? Occasionally. Did the mysterious competent doctor catch your eye? He seems like a good person. Though it's hard to believe anyone's a good person these days. That's Karash. He works hard to serve the people of Lowtown. He's a miracle worker, even if his bedside manner could use some work. Do you think he might be able to cure my curse? Leander starts to speak, but pauses to consider for a moment first. Karash is good, but he's only a doctor. Besides, unless you're actually actively dying, we'll make you wait in line all day, like everyone else. Let's ask him about Ace. So you're friends with Ace? Ace, yeah. I've been for a while, but he's rarely in town. Where'd you run into him? The Sea Spring. Leander chokes on his drink, coughs violently into his fist before giving me a surprised look. You went all the way out there? How'd he treat you? He was honest. He told me how the Sea Spring's power comes with a heavy price. Losing your mind, becoming one of his funny, brainless pets. He sighs, pausing before he speaks again. Does that sound worth it to you, Kuro? The only pets he has are soulless. Yeah, I know. I didn't mean it like that. Ace has my respect. Takes care of his own. For a moment, Leander stares deep into the bottom of his glass. When he looks up again, the circles under his eyes seem even deeper than usual. All those red-eyed minions creep me out. Can we talk about someone else? How about Vare? What do you know about Vare? Leander shakes his head, slowly, his expression grave. Vare, a living example of the Cenobian's cruelty. Most days I keep him on a short leash. I'm surprised you ran into him. So tell me, what'd you make of him? He's pretty rude. Is he always so rude? Leander snorts, but a smile tugs at his lips. To everyone but Ace. If Vare's ever nice to you, you should take that as your hint to run. Why would the Cenobian let someone so dangerous hang around in bars? As long as he gets the job done, they don't care. But I mean, I don't mind having him around. He can be fun. He's got a real presence. What exactly does that mean? Leander shrugs and laughs under his breath. He's nice to look at. Mouthy, but his tongue's the least dangerous part of him. Okay, how about Min? Min's interesting. Not very forthcoming, though. Ah, Min, my favorite grouchy freelancer. What's your impression of them? They seem lonely. I get the feeling that they could use a friend. I think Min prefers to be alone. What makes you say that? I've known them ever since they arrived to Viridia, and they've turned down every attempt I've made. Well, almost every attempt. He trails off to take a deep swig of his drink. Anyway, I'm just saying, if Min wanted to be your friend, you'd know. That about covers it. Aren't you tired of standing? Let's find you somewhere to sit. Leander pushes away from the bar, beckoning me to follow him. He leads me to a small booth hidden in a nook of the bar. A pair of bloodhounds notice him and immediately leap to their feet, offering their seats to us. As I slide in the booth, a web of graffiti scratched in the booth's tabletop catches my eye. The deepest grooves form the outline of the dog from Leander's posters. Dozens of roughly etched names around the drawing, some fresh, some well-worn. What is all this? It's a tradition. Whenever someone joins the Bloodhounds, they have a drink with us, and then they carve in their initials. The barkeeper must love that. After the first year, she finally stopped charging me extra for damages. The bartender's a she? I thought it said earlier that they were a guy. Two years and countless drinks later, she added her own name. You're not planning on recruiting me, are you? He quickly shakes his head. Not yet. You need time to think about your own path. Oh damn, listen to that. Do you know what you're going to try next? The question gives me pause. I take my hands out from under my cloak and rest them on the table. Do you think you can help me? Of course! We can find answers together. Leander starts to reach for me, still meaning to take my hand before stopping himself. His eyes flicker to mine. I won't fail you, Kuro. And if you ever need a taste of normalcy, I'll always be here for you. Chest tightens at the memory of touching him. Even now? Leander swallows. The table groans under his elbows as he leans forward. The booth is so narrow that he completely blocks my view of the bar counter. It's almost as though Leander and I are completely alone. If that's what you want. How did it make you feel? It was warm, exciting. I don't know how to describe it. Leander rests his right hand on the table. He looks at me, smiling when I place my hand in his. Slowly, he begins unwinding the bandages, stopping every so often to glance at me. My skin becomes visible. I cast a nervous glance around the bar. As far as I can see, no one is paying us any attention. Leander squeezes my hand gently. No one will notice. He pulls back, raising his hand to his mouth so he can tug his glove off with his teeth. The muscles in his forearm tighten as he flexes his fingers. Our eyes meet. Leander offers his hand again. There you go. Hand holding on demand. The lump forms in my throat. Certain Leander sees it in my face. The flicker of desperation. His voice lowers to a whisper. Anything you want, Kuro. Reach out, allowing the tips of my fingers to glide along the lines of his palm. He shudders with a nervous laugh. That tickles. Emboldened, I twine our fingers together and give an experimental squeeze. His hand is soft. Somehow I expected it to be more rough. Leander looks from our hands to me and smiles. Nice, isn't it? Yeah. I've done this once already, but it still makes me lightheaded. I'm not sure if I'll ever get used to this. And yet, I want to be even closer. My heart hammers, filling my ears with a pulse that grows unbearably loud until I pull my hand back. Are you alright? I can barely hear his words over my pounding heart, but I manage to nod. Yeah, I'm fine. Sorry, I think I'm just getting a little dizzy. Gives me a gentle smile, eyes crinkling at the edges. You've had a long day. You deserve some rest. Luckily, your room is just upstairs. Want me to walk you back? I shake my head and begin wrapping my hand back up. With each deep breath, my head feels more and more clear. I'm fine, but thanks for everything. Remember what I told you. If you ever need a break from the chaos of the city, I'll be here for you. When I rise, Leander gives me one last smile. Good night, Kuro. Night. I trudge up the stairs, but even as I leave Leander behind, the warmth of his skin lingers on mine, burning through the bandages. Wow. That's really nice. Leander's really nice.